Okay, this is a new chapter on inductive learning. Um, this is the outline. We will cover the what is learning, and then followed by the section on inductive learning, and lastly one example of inductive learning, which is we go into detail on decision tree learning. So let's start with this very important topic. Okay, let's start with the definition of learning. So the assumption is we have a learning agent. So when we have a learning agent, it means that the agent that we need to train so that it can learn. We assume that this learning agent have these two element, which is the performance element and the learning element. So from this diagram, this is how the agent interact with its environment. So from here you can see that agent rely on two devices, sensor and effector. Sensor is used by the agent to read or to sense or to get data from the environment, and the effector is how agent provide action to the environment. That is what we call effector. In a robot, for example, sensor is device to read the data, and motor is one example of effector that agent or the robot can use to move or to produce motion. So effector can come from many other devices as well. Motor is just one example, or even screen. Screen is considered output as well. Okay, from this diagram, the two main component is the learning element and the performance element. So from the learning element, it can generate a problem, and then from the problem it produce experiment, and that experiment, the performance element will try to measure how good is the performance is, and then based on that performance it will give it back to the learning element so that it becomes the knowledge. Okay, the learning element, there are four factors that can affect the learning element. The first one is the component and the knowledge, how you represent, and the feedback as well. So okay, feedback is very important here. There are three main type of feedback. The first one is supervised learning. This is based on the trainer give example to the agent during the training. That is what we call supervised learning. Unsupervised learning, the agent is given the sample or training data, but the correct answer for the training data is not provided. This is unsupervised learning. And the last one is reinforcement learning. So this learning is based on reward. So if the agent give a good feedback or correct answer, and some time of reward is given. So this is reinforcement learning. So there are three main type of feedback based on supervised learning, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. For example, SBM. SBM is one example of supervised learning because the training data comes with the correct answer. Support vector machine that we have covered in the last lecture. Okay. Inductive learning. What is inductive learning? So it is based on positive and negative example. So it allows you to produce new concept or new rule or new theory, and the aim is to generalize based on given example. Of course, there are three types of learning. It can be based on instant learning, observation, or discovery. So let's start with the instant learning. What is instant learning? Instant based learning, it is based on one of supervised learning. So based on supervised learning algorithm. It will include positive instant but exclude all the negative instant. So this is very simple instant based learning, the simplest form of learning, and it is based on supervised learning algorithm. Okay, let's see one example of instant based learning. Okay, for example here, learning and classifier. So this is training data for classification. So you want to classify whether if the sample is an arc or not. For example, here you have three objects over here: positive example, and then you have negative example as well. So this is how you conduct learning based on instant based or supervised learning algorithm that apply supervised learning algorithm. So another type of learning is observation and discovery learning. Now this one is all under the category of unsupervised learning. So this one without supervisor. So the trainer or the training data is given without answer. So normally we use it to generate or explain the rule of observation. So normally based on the given data, we try to come up with description what is the data is all about. So this is observation and discovery learning. It fall under unsupervised learning. For example, given a collection of example, you come out a function or hypothesis to approximate the target concept. Of course, unsupervised learning, it is much more challenging compared to supervised learning. So in the case of unsupervised learning, normally you are relying of very large training data, and then you try to find out the function that be able to approximate the target function, and then based on that hypothesis, the assumption that the same function can be used for test data, meaning other data that have not been seen before. So the function that you design from the training data should be able to approximate the testing data as well. So that is the hypothesis, the assumption. If the function works well with the training data, given that the training data is sufficiently large, it should be able to be applied to the test data as well, and it should give you a good approximation as well. So that is the assumption of unsupervised learning. Now, one example here. Supervised learning. Now, let's see. Okay, this is unsupervised learning actually. Let's see this example. I have how many points here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, the aim here is to come up with a function that should be able to represent this data point. The simplest form is normally we start with a linear function. So linear function means normally it is a straight line based on the equation of y equal to mx plus c. So okay, let's start with that one. Let's start with, okay, so we assume we want to try the all possible function that's be able to generalize the data point, the given data point. So this is okay, given this data set, for example. So we start with a straight line. Is this good enough to represent this data point, this line? That means, for example, you want to predict data point somewhere in between here. So based on this straight line, because you assume that this line represents this data set. So that means if you want to predict somewhere in here, then the data point should be somewhere here. So if you predict the data, the new data point at when x is here, so the value should be somewhere here. So this is the assumption when you use a linear function to represent this data point. So as you can see here, obviously in this case linear function is not that good. So let's try another function. Let's say, okay, now you use this non-linear. This is quadratic function. Now, how good this one compared to the linear one? Okay, so from this one, it should be better to the straight line. That means if you want to predict data point here, it should be somewhere here. This is much better solution compared to the straight line, with the assumption that this data is out in an outlier. So if you assume that this data is an outlier or not noise, then this green line is a very good approximate function for this type of data point. But what happen if the data, isolated data point here, is actually a real data, not a noise? So how do you draw a function so that it will include this data point? Of course, the straight line is very poor in this case. Linear function is very poor. Green much better, but does not really represent all data point here. So that's why you can come out with something like this. So this is again a non-linear function. Now you can say the blue line is the best approximate function to represent all data point in this scenario. So that means from one data set you have many options actually. And bear in mind, this is not the only solution. This is not the only solution. You can have a function that start with a curve and then somehow from here it continues to fall down. So when it fall, you can create the straight line, and then when you're going up again in another straight line. That means you have a function of a combination of function. You start with the quadratic function, and then you have a linear function with a negative gradient, and then you have another linear function with ascending gradient. So that could be another possible solution. So depending on the nature of the data. So that means these three options is not the only available option here. Okay. So okay, let's see one example that. Okay, this is orange line. As you can see here, this orange line also able to accurately plot all data point here. So if you compare the blue and the orange line, these two actually able to point out to plot the data correctly. Even though the orange line looks weird, but you don't know if the data is in actually in a blue pattern or in orange pattern. So we are not sure. So how to choose from these two? Which one is the best? So the question is, which one is the best? Of these two, which one is the best? Of course, the blue one looks more natural. The orange one looks really weird, but it is still possible. And then from these four, you can say that the orange is a better representation compared to the red and the green line. Of course, blue lines looks more natural. But again, from these two accurately approximate all the data point in this scenario. So how to select which one is the best of these two? So um, now this is where we have this principle that we call it Occam razor. Occam razor say that if you have two competing solutions on one problem, you choose the simplest one, the simplest solution. So in this case, you have two hypotheses, two candidate hypothesis, which is the orange and the blue line. So of these two, which one is the simplest? So that is the principle of Occam's razor. Occam is one of the philosopher in the 14th century. So the idea is, if you have two competing or more than one competing hypothesis that accurately or a good hypothesis for a problem, you choose the simplest one. So in this case, most likely we gonna use we choose a blue. We prefer the blue one because that one is easier to represent compared to the orange one. It looks simpler compared to the orange one. But I'm not sure whether Occam is the first one to come up with this idea. But the claim is that he is the first one to come up with this idea. But I don't think he is the first one. Preferring the simple solution to any problem, this is very common. We human normally prefer the simplest one, so I don't know why they call it Occam razor. So I don't believe that he is the first one to come with this kind of idea. But anyway, in the literature, they call it Occam's razor. You can Google out the idea of or this principle Occam razor. So it is a very famous principle, preferring the simplest out of many hypotheses. If you have more than one hypothesis that can accurately provide a solution, then you choose the simplest one. Okay, and it is a simple idea but very important in computer and computing problem or computing approach or AI approach. Normally we prefer the simplest one. Now in inductive learning, we need to have these two assumptions. We assume that, okay, population normally the whole population normally a very big let's say you have a very big training data. We call it population. Let's say you have 1 million data, and normally we don't want to examine all the data because that will be a very computer intensive experiment. That's why out of, let's say, 1 million, we want to examine only let's say 10% of it. That means 100,000. So it is more manageable compared to the whole population. That's why we come with the idea of training sample. Then we assume that the training sample will represent the population, and we also assume that the input feature permit discrimination. That means the input will correctly describe the pattern of the data. So we have these two assumptions when you want to apply inductive learning. Now there are two type of problem. One is classification problem and one is regression problem. So how do you differentiate these two? Classification problem, normally it comes with a finite of value. For example, you want to classify whether okay, today is it sunny or cloudy or rainy or hazy or whatever. So it comes with normally discrete value and finite. So the option is maybe you only have 5 class, 10 class. That means you have a finite set. Now regression problem, this is continuous. Normally y, the value is a number. For example, you want to predict what is the temperature today. So it could be 36 Fahrenheit, it could be 36.1, 36.2, and so on. So the value or the number is continuous. So that is a regression problem. In general, classification problem is much easier to handle compared to regression problem. Classification definition. Now this is how you define what is classification. Normally you come out a training set where each training set contain a set of attribute. So you can imagine your Excel sheet. So the sheet itself is what we call training set. Normally it consists of several rows. Each row is a record, and then for each record you have a column. So column is the attribute, and the last column normally is a class. Normally in the classification problem, the aim is to predict the class of the unseen record. So this is normally you use it as a test set. So you have the training set and you have the test set. So training set come with a record where the last column is a class, whereas for test set you have the record but you don't have the class. You have yet to assign a class for the for each record in the testing set. So you can use testing set to determine the accuracy of the model, and you can use it for validation as well. So that is how do you split the training and testing set.